Hi, everyone, and welcome to our research workshop series. My name is Lauren Robinson. I'm the Associate Director of Research Services and a liaison to the College of Medicine here at the Medical Center Library at UK. Today, we're going to be talking about effective and responsible database searching for animal research. I'm going to talk a lot about how you can produce reproducible searching. So today we're going to learn some strategies for finding high quality relevant studies that minimize the use of animals and ensure adherence to ethical standards. You'll learn to employ some comprehensive search techniques and validated filters to find or to not find some relative or relevant literature. So let's dive on in. So we're going to start building search strategies for animal research. So understanding the requirements, you have to have effective search strategies with a clear and build them with a clear understanding of the specific requirements. So this includes unnecessary duplication and animal use alternatives. So, and pain reduction. So as researchers, you must demonstrate that your proposed study is not a mere repetition of previous works, and this requires a literature search. To provide that justification, you have to be able to find in the literature how your research is different and how it fills a gap. So what makes your study unique? And you have to adhere to what they call the 3 R's. It's replacement, reduction, and refinement. You have to identify methods to mitigate pain or provide justification for the use of unalleviated pain. And you have to explore alternatives to animal models. This could be things with AI. It could be computer modeling. It could be in vitro methods, computer simulations. There's lots of things to do. So how do you search the literature for all of this, right? The first thing you do is you have to develop a search plan. So this is kind of like a brainstorming activity for a search process. When I work with people on these searches, I often read about their research or they tell me about their research, and then we come up with a list of keywords and filters that already exist, which we're going to talk a lot about later, to develop that plan of search and how we're going to do it. So the next thing is to select appropriate databases. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the benefits of multi-database searching. So every database has a set of journals that it indexes, right? And those are different. So in order to reduce bias in your searching, you want to search multiple databases. And for IACUC protocols, for example, you have to search 2 databases. And I'll show a list of some later based off the discipline. But some of the general ones are PubMed, Embase, Web of Science, and Agricola. Yes, and I'll talk about some more of that about which ones are good for which types of disciplines later. You also consider specialized databases that focus on a specific use. So there's Jove is a resource I often search for people. It's a journal of visualized experiments. It has a lot about protocols and different type of scientific methods that are used. That could be also an option. Especially when you're aiming at a specific type of research design, it can be a little bit better at narrowing down to specific journals that way. The next thing is to implement your search strategy. So this involves executing queries, and I'm going to talk a lot about making them reproducible. So if you spend a lot of time up front building a really strong search strategy and documenting that search strategy, it makes updates to it later easier. So instead of having to redo your search every 3 years or however long you have to do it, you can then just copy and paste and make a date update if you follow some of these techniques and build a very strong search strategy, which includes things like truncation and phrase searching, maybe even proximity searching. It's a lot of work up front, but it does help with transparency and the reproducibility and speeding things up for you later down the road. And then documentation. So this is what really ensures the reproducibility and simplifying your future updates. So like I was saying, if you construct and well-document a comprehensive search strategy, it's so much easier for you later. And it saves you time, maintains consistency, and ensures that you can always have current and relevant research. So what's the importance of database searching in animal research? So the goal overall is to reduce duplication and duplicative harm. So effective literature searching not only enhances the quality of your own research, but it plays a crucial role in reducing duplication and any harm associated with duplicating studies, right? This is the same concept with data management. NIH has made data management a requirement for submitting grants, right? You have to have a plan for how you're going to manage your data, where you're going to save it, where you're going to put it once it's done, into like which data repository. The goal is to not keep repeating studies where either financial or physical harm can be done over and over, right? So this is the same type of concept. You have to have a well-formulated literature search to help reduce the duplication efforts. So duplication can lead to wasted resources, unnecessary animal use, and ethical dilemmas. By thoroughly reviewing the literature, you can avoid repeating studies that have already been done, save time, funds, and the number of animals used, which goes back to those 3 R's. So I want to talk a little bit before I talk about strategies that people can use and tools available is the roles of librarians. We're often collaborators with different researchers, and we can help you construct these precise and comprehensive searches. We can help you document those searches. I often keep documentation when I work with researchers. So if they come back in 3 years for a renewal, I have that search. It's easy, quick to update. And also working with us in collaboration, we can help you find relevant studies and narrow down your results. Where you're not having to do multiple searches over and over to test each type of like outcome you're looking at. You can leverage our collaborative effort to advance animal research in your own research by building responsible searches. So we can provide expertise and guidance. We can provide database training and support. So I've often done these searches for some of my colleagues. But if you're interested in doing the searches yourself and updating them yourself, we can provide that training and support and tools that can make it really easy for you to do that. And then, like I said, I can help find, provide, or build search hedges, which we're going to talk more about in a moment, and then teach you tools to simplify the process. And I'm going to go over a lot of these different things as we progress through the presentation. I do like to pick, I like to say this, like, we do not synthesize your results for you. I've had like some people ask me, like, could I synthesize the results that I found? I'm not an expert in your area of research. I'm an expert in finding research. I'm an expert in finding the information you need. But you still have to review, analyze, and provide a description of why your research is different in the case of IACUC studies. Okay, so tools for building search strategies. So this is where we're going to spend the bulk of our time. The first one is database selection. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. These are some databases we offer here at the University of Kentucky Libraries. For biomedical research, I recommend PubMed, Embase, and Web of Science. There's some other ones like PsycInfo that you might use on occasion, depending on your area of research. PubMed is really, like, I pretty much recommend that for no matter what type of research you're doing, if it involves animals, because it has a wide assortment of research. There's agriculture, there's life sciences, there's biomedical, there's every type of research you could ever want to for these type of studies there. Also, that database indexes things like JOVE, which is the Journal of Visualized Experiments I talked about earlier. It also indexes things from PubMed Central, which are things that have been federally funded that are entered into PubMed for free. So those articles are freely available. It also searches some other data sets available. So PubMed is just wide ranging and really good. And it's really simple to create a comprehensive search strategy and save it from it. And then Embase for biomedical research is another really great tool. I like this one for pharmaceutical research or research that may be happening in other countries. It has a big area of indexing for like European and other countries. So some of that is it overlaps with PubMed. So both PubMed and Embase search Medline, but Embase has a really unique set of resources. So even when you're searching two databases for, like, let's say, an unnecessary duplication search, you can still like deduplicate that. And that's something we can help with too. We have tools that will help with that. There's EndNote if you're an EndNote user. We can deduplicate an EndNote. But there's also tools like SR Accelerator, which is a systematic review tool that can help you with deduplication as well. So the moral of that is like, you're going to search multiple databases because that's the best way to make sure you're like getting the breadth of what's out there. But you're also going to have duplicates. So it's going to look big sometimes, or it might be zero. That's always the goal, is to hit a zero. But I will say I've rarely hit a zero before. But there are tools that can help you with that. And then Web of Science is another great tool. Web of Science is a little bit broader in its scope. When I've worked with users, I often will recommend like narrowing down Web of Science, like maybe not searching the index book collection of it. But Web of Science also has a really cool index called Emerging Sources. So that's journals that don't quite have impact factors, but might be doing like they're close to having impact factors. So it's like areas of new research or things that aren't published by normal publishers, or not normal, bigger publishers, the ones that we're used to. It's a great tool, especially for newer research, to include something from Web of Science like that. And these are really dependent on your topic, which ones are going to be selected. Like I said, if it's a pharmaceutical study, I'm probably just going to do Embase and PubMed, right? It kind of just depends on the research. And then agriculture and life sciences. So this is much broader. Agricola is one of the big ones. I will give a caveat right now. Agricola is having a bunch of journals pulled from it. I think I heard 400. Don't quote me on that. So just be aware that Agricola might have some caveats when using it for these type of searches moving forward. But it is a good tool. We do have available through an EBSCO platform, and we can always help you search that. And it is kind of the big database for agriculture research or agriculture research. And then there's PubMed. There's also, I also would mention with Agricola, there's also CABI Abstracts, which is another database we could search for agriculture information. I didn't list it here, but it is one that is very commonly searched as well. And then there's PubMed, of course, Embase and Web of Science. I say those for the same reason. PubMed's a really good agricultural and life sciences database as well. It has stuff about nuclear energy. It has stuff all the way to nuclear family. So in that family science type of stuff too. So again, PubMed's very vast, and Embase as well. And Embase would probably depend on what your area of research you're doing, right? If you're doing pharmaceutical research in animal populations, Embase might be a good option. Again, you select your databases. You need 2 for each question, the unnecessary duplication, and the animal use alternatives and pain reduction maybe. And those, so you just kind of can pick and choose from this database list. If it's another one that you're wanting to search, you can always reach out to us. We're happy to help you find the right database. Okay, I'm going to talk about search hedges. I'm sure many of you are not familiar with what a search hedge is. So I'm just going to take a minute talking about that, and then I'm going to give a case study. And then we're going to show you this resource that's available for search hedges. And it is a work in progress, I will say. We are updating it. It is coming together. There's lots of content on here already, but you will see it changing over the next couple months with more content added. So search hedges, what are they? So search hedges are a predefined comprehensive combination of search terms used to retrieve journal articles effectively. So in IACUC and animal research, this can be helpful for retrieving articles based off an animal population or a specific research area, like pain minimization, right? That could be a research inquiry that you're looking at in particular. These are created by librarians, so they're very common in health librarianship. For example, we have several pages, one's called ISSG, that has things about like different populations, like pediatric populations, adult populations, because there's so many ways to define like a pediatric population, right? So these hedges kind of can be copy and paste solutions. So this page in particular has been developed in relation to animal research. So there's things about animal species, there's alternatives in pain minimization, unalleviated pain and confounders, and then prolonged restraint. And again, more things are going to be added to this one moving forward. So I want to talk a little bit about an example as a case study, then we'll dig into the guide of why these hedges are powerful and how they can be useful to you. So conducting literature searches for studies discussing confounders or unalleviated pain can be particularly challenging. I will say when I was first approached with this, it was difficult because the way the literature is indexed in these databases, which we're going to talk a bit more about here in a second. So confounder literature is often indexed within animal welfare and bioethics literature. So that means if you limit your search to your specific area of research, like in this example, traumatic brain injury, and you may unintentionally exclude relevant studies that address confounders because it's not indexed with TBI. When I was digging into this, into PubMed, and I actually reached out to AWIC, which is the Agriculture Information Center. I wanted some clarification to see if they've run into the same issue, and they had. So the problem is the way these things are indexed is indexed like under bioethics and welfare. So and animal welfare. If you search, it's not going to be indexed under a TBI. And I'll show you in a paper in a minute that will help kind of showcase this. So an article may reference TBI, but it's not going to be categorized under the TBI literature that you're searching because its primary focus is on confounding factors. So databases index journal articles based off their primary topic. So for example, an article might talk about various confounders based off different areas of research, and TBI is just one piece inside of that paper. And if you're searching for TBI, you're not going to find that. So here, so in this process, I developed this method. There's two methods in order to look at this type of literature. So the first method is to search the literature on the use of analgesics or pain management in your area of research and to suggest their feasibility or why you can or cannot use that drug. So you would use your animal keywords like mice or mouse or rats or whatever your animal terms are, your area of research, and that example was TBI, and then all the different terms for analgesia and pain. And then, and I'm going to show you what this looks like on the guide in a second. I have some search examples. But the second alternative is to adopt a broader approach. And this is the way that I personally felt is probably the best way to do it. And I probably provide teams I'm working with both of these searches because they both kind of fill the gap of trying to, like a separate gap in answering this question. So the second one is adopt a broader approach by identifying citations that address issues of confounding factors. So instead of using mice, you're going to use laboratory animal keywords. So there are terms for like animal models or laboratory animals. And then you would end that with your pain management keywords, your analgesics, and then your phrase for confounding results experiments. So this could not just be pain. That's just the example I'm using. There could be other confounders you're looking at and you're trying to prove that something is a confounder. You can put that in here. So what does that come up with? I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. But that second method that I was just talking about comes up with articles like this: to treat or not to treat the effects of pain on experimental parameters, and then the side effects of pain and analgesia in animal experimentation, right? So these aren't, they talk, like I know the to treat or not to treat talks about TBIs, but it's not in the abstract and it's not in the mesh terms or the keywords, right? So if you were to use that first method I was talking about, you're not going to get articles like this. So you could be proving that there's nothing out there, but the literature isn't where you're searching for it. So that's where these hedges can become very useful. So I'm going to pop into this guide. Oops. And it took me there instead. Okay. Maybe. Okay, well, we're going to escape that and just go to the link because my link is not the little stuff here. There we go. We'll just open it this way. So here's that hedge page. And you can actually navigate here on the left side. And we're gonna talk about all of these, but I'm just gonna jump into the unalleviated pain piece because that was the example, the case study I was giving you. I talk about everything here. I use the TBI example here as well. But here's what that may look like. So in mice, I have my traumatic brain injury string, and then I have all my analgesia and then all the different types of drugs that I might be using. These hedges are adaptable, right? You don't have to use this as it is. You can change your terms. Maybe you're not looking at all these drugs. You're looking at one of these drugs, right? Like meloxicam. You can then remove all those other ones, right? These are starting points to help you copy and paste and reuse to make things easier for you. But here's that first example. So you had your animal keywords, your area of topic, and your area of like the pain management example. Here's what that may look like. And then here's option 2 I was just talking about, where those articles, here's those articles again. You can click on them and read more about them, but this is what that second approach will find. And here's what that may look like. You can see that I'm using very different terminology here. I'm using laboratory animals, animal models, animal disease models, and animal experimentation. And then my page is my general pain management. Again, that could be edited if you wanted to include specific drugs. I don't think it's necessary quite as much in this one, but it's possible. And then you can see I have animal welfare terms and bioethical issues. It's a very different approach, right? So these are what those hedges can be really powerful for. Like it took me a while, and I live in these databases, right? I search these all the time. It took me several hours to figure this out. So I was able to document it, provide this hedge to you so you can reuse it in the future and choose which option is best for your area of research. So that's a case study of how these can be used. And again, these are freely available, copy and paste. The link is clickable in the slides. And then also you'll get, it's going to be put in the chat as well, the link to the IACUC hedge and the IACUC guide. And then you'll get the slides afterwards. So everything will be clickable. Okay, so let's go back up here. I'm going to start up here. I want to talk a little bit. I'm going to come back and talk about this in a moment, but so the animal species hedges. So these have been developed, they've been edited by me and my colleague, Helen Bischoff. We have been working on editing some of the already existing hedges that are out there. So these animal species in particular are closer to being peer reviewed. So they haven't gone through like a typical peer review process that you might be familiar with. But essentially librarians have come together. So in this example, the MLA's Animal and Veterinarian Information Specialist group and the USDA have come together to develop some of these searches. So what you do is these are comprehensive search strings for different databases that you can reuse. So these are still works in progress. This red one, I need to fix. It's red because I'm going to make it a title abstract term instead of a field, all fields. But you will be able to go through here, copy and paste these. So like here's mouse. This is a very common one in animal research, right? You can copy and paste this into PubMed and it will bring up the literature on mice. And this is probably bigger and a lot longer than what you have developed in the past, right? And that's just because librarians, like I said, came together and went through all these different terms to find out which ones were pulling unique articles. They've been kind of tested by librarians. So undergoing a type of peer review. And then Helen and I have translated these into Web of Science, Agricola, and Embase. So you can come here, copy and paste this. Because every database speaks a little bit of a different language. So you can copy and paste them into each database. So same with rats. We've done that with rats, chicken, Horses, so this is actually one that Helen and I have worked on together. Horses did not exist any of the other documentation that's provided up above that I just showed you. We worked on this horse one, and it's a very common one here in Kentucky at UK. So again, we've created this and translated it to each database. So, and you're probably curious how you copy and paste this, right? So up here, and I have this linked in the slides in a moment, I'll show you too, we actually have these tutorials that we've built. And this tells you how to use these hedges in databases like PubMed. We are updating these. We're going to do one for Web of Science. We're going to do one for Embase. So you'll be able to see how to copy and paste these hedges into each database. But you can like click on the Health Sciences database, go to PubMed, scroll down, you paste it in, you click in here in the advanced search, you paste it, and then you can run the search. And there's just a little note here that like the syntax for one database isn't the same. You need to go back to the page that we're on right now and copy and paste it if you're going to Embase, Web of Science, whatever it may be. And then you can, again, copy it from the LibGuides. This is where we're at right now. Go in here, paste it, and hit search. So it's just like copying and pasting in a Word document. You just kind of have to have multiple screens open. And then when you click that, you'll be able to see there's 244,000 articles that mention mice. And this is mice in the title abstract. This is mice in the subject headings. So this is going to catch it if the primary area of research is mice or chicken. In this example, she used the chicken one. So these are all available to show you how to reuse this. You don't have to remember it today. You can come back here and look at these here. There's also some other ones, which I'm not going to go too much into today. And you can see we already have the Web of Science one here. So this one will show you how to copy and paste into Web of Science. And then we also have some tutorials for prolonged restraint. I can show you that in a moment. And then some translation tools. So let's say you built your own search strategy. We have some instructions here on how you can use these tools to translate it to Embase or CINAHL or Web of Science or whatever database you may be using. This tool, SR Accelerators or Terra tools, Polyglot, that translates almost into every database that you would need. And then Embase translates PubMed searches into Embase for you. And you can copy and paste those searches to document them. So I'm going to go on back up here. I'm going to click to the top. And we also have developed one for for animal use alternatives and pain minimization. So these are kind of general ones that you can use just to get to search for pain for alternatives. So animal use alternatives, pain reduction, the relief of pain, you can use that for that second search for looking at animal use alternatives. These may have to be edited based off your area of research. These are just a general starting point for your research. And it's a pretty encompassing way to look at pain relief, as well as looking at those 3 R's: reduction, refinement, and replacement. And these, just if you're curious, this is looking at a proximity searcher. So it's going to get animal use alternative. It's going to get animal research alternative. It's going to get all of those variations of animal alternative. So, and that's in all of these. You can, again, copy, you can use the one in Embase, Web of Science, or Curricula. And then we've already talked in the case study about unalleviated pain. And I also put those translation things here because this is a unique one. You're not going to find one for each database. I did the example in PubMed because, again, these are all customizable. Your animal of research, your animal of interest may be different. Your drug choices may be different. So again, you will have to copy, paste, and edit these searches for your area of research. So these are those translation tools to help you get that into other databases. And then here's prolonged restraint. Helen and I have been working on a prolonged restraint hedge that you can copy and paste. There's some instructions here on how to use it as well, because it can change, right? We have this general hedge that can be used for every restraint search. So it has all the different words for confinement, restraint, immobilization, all of that. And then based off your protocol, you may need to add the specific form of restraint, right? And here's some examples of what those are. So you can copy and paste the ones you're using and or those up here. And you can see that here, and it's color coded. So here's that general one that you can use for all restraint. And then in this example, we're talking about tethers or slings, right? So we pulled the tethers or strings from the second one down here. So it's kind of a plug and play based off your area of research. So that's the power of search hedges. And again, these are being updated every day. We're working on them. So it's a great place to start, especially for the animal species. You can just come here, look at your area of which animal you're working on and copy and paste it. You don't have to worry about digging through a subject heading, trying to find the name used for a specific database. Okay, so that's the search hedges. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to reshare my slides. Okay, so the next is the guide, and I'm going to show that, and it's not going to let me link again, so I'm going to hit escape and we're going to go right back here. So the IACUC guide is linked on the page or on the slides, and it's going to be in the chat for you. This is what that looks like. Again, this is a work in progress too. It's being changed frequently. There's some instructions here. There is a request a literature search form. So if you need help, you can always email us at iacouclibrarian@l.uky.edu. It's a brand new email, just started yesterday. So you can send that and that will go to the librarians who help with IACUC searching. And then you can also submit the form. If you click this, it will take you to a literature search form that will be directed to the Medical Center Library, who will then direct it to whoever is working on IACUC searches. So that is an option. You can submit the form. If you want some prompts of things to include, the form's a good option. It kind of walks you through that, but you can also email us directly. We do like, if you're wanting our help, we often want to see like your protocol or whatever your area of research, if you have a write-up for it. It just helps us build searches and understand the research better. Because again, we're not experts in everyone's research. So we do have to read up on it to help build searches. And again, this is the new resource alert. I just went over this hedge page. It's brand new. And if there's an area of research that you think needs a hedge, let us know. We're happy to work on those. Again, we have some tools that are available. Here's that search hedge piece. Here's the 3 R's. There's Polyglot, which is that translator. There's some different tutorials here. There's a worksheet from the USDA. Lots of tools here. And then also here's those databases. These are the core subject databases. So I've mentioned Joe, PubMed, Embase, Agricola. There's Scopus on here too as an alternative. I didn't talk much about Scopus. I usually will choose Embase in most cases. Unless you're trying to look at patents and things like that, then Scopus is useful. And there's some alternate databases here. I've seen some people use AltBib. That's linked here. It is essentially using PubMed, and it's a little bit broad, so you can get a lot of results from it. So sometimes it's better, in my opinion, to build a search string just based off your own particular area of research. But this is a great resource if you're just wanting to use what's already defined. It's essentially using a search hedge, a filter that has been developed by them. And then links to other like current protocols and things like that are available. We have some rotating books over here as well, and some different skills stuff here. Here's the database searching skills. So if you've never searched these databases, that's some introductory information. And then also we have a systematic review, our data service, just things that may be of interest to you. And then I'm going to be uploading this video I'm doing today here. It's also going to be on our workshop series page, but there's also going to be some just videos here that may be useful for you. And I'll talk about this one in just a second. I have a slide on it as well. Okay. Oh, took me way back. I apologize. Okay. I already talked a little bit about these tutorials, but this is a direct link to that Scribes landing page. So I relink things everywhere. It's here, it's on the guide. You're going to find these things in multiple places just so they're easy to find. But this is a great place just to bookmark this page. As we add new tutorials, they're all going to be added here. So these are the ones how to use search hedges. There's ones on how to use the translation tools. This is clickable, this button right here is clickable. It's also in the chat. So I'm not gonna go over these anymore. We talked a little bit about these on the guide a moment ago, but these are interactive and you can kind of click through them. Okay, so the importance of accurate literature searching. So I've talked about a lot of these tools, and they're probably very different from the way you've searched in the past, right? A lot of this has been informed just by like my experience searching. I do a lot of systematic reviews, which have a different scope, right? Like they're trying to find everything. You're not trying to find everything in the world. You're trying to find what is exactly your study. So some of it seems really comprehensive, but like what it does is it helps reduce bias. So like that example, that case study we just did, looking at unalleviated pain, you're inserting bias if you didn't know that that confounder research is indexed under animal welfare. Because if you're just searching your animal study, right, like you're just looking at mice and pain management and whatever your area of research is, you're missing that whole set of literature that does look at confounders, right? So that does insert bias. So working with librarians can help you like navigate that. Again, like I said, that one took me a while to figure out, and I even wanted some confirmation that I was thinking about it right, and I reached out to some other experts on it. So doing that just helps you mitigate risk. And in that case, I wanted to, the video that's on the guide I just showed you, and I have a link for it in a moment, is how you build your search matters, unveiling the bias. So I talk a lot more in that tutorial on bias and how to reduce bias in your searching, because you have biases, the databases have biases, the terminology has a bias. How can you build searches? They're never going to be perfect, but you can take steps to mitigate it. And using hedges are one way to mitigate that. You can ensure that you're capturing the correct literature, right? So like I was just saying, like you would be missing all of that animal welfare confounder literature if you were looking at unalleviated pain and trying to look at the confounders of it, if you weren't searching in a specific way. So you have to know the databases, you have to know how they're being indexed, you have to know how to read the different articles, indexes and things like that to figure that out. So, and it's just vital to construct searches that help thoroughly explore different topics. So it just helps you find all the pertinent things. And then proving an existence of research, right? Like the goal of this whole process is to prove that the literature exists or it doesn't exist, and it might not exist. And that is the goal. We should be doing research to help find new answers to new or to old and new problems, right? So you must approach searches with the aim of discovering existing work. That's what I tell people. Like I do this with systematic reviews. I do this when I'm helping people who are building these type of searches. I would recommend approaching it with the aim of discovering work. Assume that there's work out there, and then try to disprove yourself, right? Like, okay, like, does this exist? And that approach really helps you in identifying gaps, finding if your findings were correct or not, and then just building upon your own knowledge. It prevents redundancy and promotes the advancement of your own research. So that's my other recommendation of taking that approach, is just assume that something is out there and try to disprove it. So conducting accurate and thorough literature searches is not just a procedural requirement, but it's a fundamental practice that underpins the validity and reliability of IACUC in animal research. It ensures that research is built on a solid foundation of existing knowledge, promotes transparency, and fosters ethical practice. So I just want to leave with that. And then this is the session, and you can watch it here. The slides will be sent out, the URL to the slides, but you can also view it on our workshop series page. It's linked previously with that underline. I just want to point this one out because this topic goes hand in hand with the topic of unveiling the bias and how to build your search. So I just want to point that out. And then we have some time for questions. And then again, if you need Lit Search help, we have our form. And you can email mclib at uky.edu to get a hold of me. And then again, we just started yesterday having that IACUC, a librarian at l.uky.edu. which I can put into the chat as well.